In a move that has sent shockwaves through the international community, former U.S. President Donald Trump has thrust himself back onto the world stage, initiating peace talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. This unexpected development comes after nearly 3 years of brutal conflict in Ukraine, a conflict that has reshaped geopolitical alliances and sparked the worst humanitarian crisis in Europe since World War II. Trump's foray into international diplomacy began with a lengthy phone call with Putin, a conversation lasting over 90 minutes and focusing on finding a peaceful resolution to the ongoing war. This was followed by separate calls with Zelensky, where Trump outlined his vision for peace and emphasized the need for dialogue. Details of the Trump-Putin conversation remain closely guarded, but sources suggest that the two leaders discussed a range of issues, including the possibility of a ceasefire and the framework for future negotiations. Notably, the prisoner exchange that coincided with the talks has been interpreted as a goodwill gesture, signaling a potential thaw in relations between the U.S. and Russia. The release of American teacher Mark Fogel from Russian custody, in exchange for Russian national Alexander Vinnik, has been welcomed by both sides, offering a glimmer of hope in what has been a long and bitter standoff. The announcement of planned meetings between Trump and Putin, with the first encounter scheduled to take place in Saudi Arabia, has further fueled speculation about the potential for a breakthrough in the conflict. While the details of these meetings are yet to be finalized, their very existence marks a significant shift in the dynamics of the conflict, raising hopes for a negotiated settlement that could bring an end to the bloodshed. However, the path to peace is fraught with challenges, and the success of these talks hinges on a multitude of factors, including the willingness of all parties to compromise and the ability of international actors to exert their influence and ensure a lasting peace. For Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Trump's peace initiative presents both an opportunity and a challenge. On the one hand, the prospect of ending the war and bringing relief to his war-torn nation is undoubtedly welcome. On the other hand, Zelensky finds himself in the unenviable position of navigating a complex web of international relations, caught between the ambitions of a former U.S. president seeking to reclaim his place on the world stage and the aggression of a Russian leader determined to achieve his geopolitical objectives. Zelensky's public statements have been carefully measured, reflecting the delicate balancing act he must perform. While acknowledging the significance of the Trump-Putin talks, Zelensky has expressed reservations about the sequencing of the conversations, particularly his displeasure at Trump speaking with Putin before engaging with him. This sentiment underscores the delicate nature of the situation, where perceptions of respect and recognition are paramount. Zelensky's concerns highlight the challenges of mediating peace in a conflict where trust is scarce and historical grievances run deep. Furthermore, the Ukrainian president is acutely aware of the domestic political ramifications of any peace deal. He faces pressure from hardliners within Ukraine who view any concessions to Russia as unacceptable, a sentiment fueled by the immense sacrifices made by the Ukrainian people in their fight for freedom and sovereignty. Balancing these internal pressures with the need to find a negotiated settlement that safeguards Ukraine's long-term interests will require deft diplomacy and unwavering resolve from Zelensky. The evolving situation in Ukraine has also brought into sharp focus the complexities of international support for the embattled nation. The United States, under the Biden administration, has been a steadfast ally to Ukraine, providing billions of dollars in military and humanitarian aid. However, recent statements by U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth have injected a note of uncertainty into the equation. Speaking at a security forum, Hegseth cast doubt on the feasibility of Ukraine regaining control of all the territories it has lost to Russia since 2014, including the Crimean Peninsula. Hegseth's comments, particularly his assertion that a return to Ukraine's pre-2014 borders is unrealistic, have raised concerns in Kyiv and beyond, signaling a potential shift in the U.S. long-term commitment to Ukraine's territorial integrity. His call for increased European defense spending, suggesting a hike in NATO's expenditure guideline from 2% to 5% of GDP, further underscores the evolving dynamics of the transatlantic alliance in the face of Russian aggression. This shift in tone from Washington comes at a critical juncture, as Zelensky seeks to rally international support for Ukraine's cause. The upcoming Munich Security Conference, an annual gathering of world leaders and security experts, is expected to provide further clarity on the direction of U.S. foreign policy. The presence of high-ranking U.S. officials, including Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, is seen as an opportunity for the Biden administration to articulate its stance on the Ukraine conflict and its vision for the future of European security. The conference will also provide a platform for Zelensky to make his case on the world stage, seeking to shore up international support and counter any erosion of confidence in Ukraine's ability to withstand Russian aggression. As the world awaits the outcome of the planned Trump-Putin meetings and the pronouncements of the Munich Security Conference, one thing is certain: the road ahead for Ukraine remains fraught with uncertainty. Zelensky faces the daunting task of navigating a rapidly evolving geopolitical landscape, one in which the old certainties of the post-Cold War order have been shattered. The outcome of the peace talks initiated by Trump remains uncertain, and the long-term implications of these developments for Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity are yet to be fully grasped. The Munich Security Conference takes on added significance in this context, offering a glimpse into the future of international relations and the role of diplomacy in resolving global conflicts. The world will be watching closely as leaders grapple with the challenges posed by the Ukraine conflict, seeking answers to fundamental questions about the balance of power, the limits of diplomacy, and the very nature of peace in an increasingly interconnected and volatile world. For Zelensky and the Ukrainian people, the stakes could not be higher. Their fate hangs in the balance, their future dependent on the decisions made in the halls of power and the corridors of diplomacy, far from the battlefields where their destiny is being forged.